How are we doing today, guys? Everyone that knows me from the Fantasy Podcast, what is up? My real first love, I played fantasy football for a long time too, but my real first sports love has to be KU basketball. And so this is a little passion project of mine and my little brother Cooper, who's the other half of this podcast, strictly talking about KU basketball. There's no real, obviously fantasy football talk here. No fantasy anything. Maybe a little sports betting on the Hawks, but that's it. Cooper, KU is bowl eligible for the first time since 2008. You probably don't remember the 08 season. I do barely. Really exciting stuff.
And the turnaround on that is, of course, last time KU was bowl eligible, they won the Natty in the same year. Not saying it's going to happen, but anything's possible. A little bit of KU magic here and there.
I'm excited. I really hope we get. I really hope we can retain Lance Leipold. He smells like a Big Ten coach. I love him. I think he'll do great at KU. I think it'll be good to have a coach that's good like that as Houston, Cincinnati. Houston, who we beat by 3 scores. Houston, Cincinnati, as they all come into the conference. UCF, BYU runs a good program right now, but they're a little up and down. I like it. I really hope we can retain him. I'd be fine giving him a lifetime contract just based off the progress year 1 to year 2. I mean, I've seen coaches cycle through KU crazy, and no one's been able to have success like this in their second year, obviously, since Mark Mangino, and I'm not even sure it happened that fast for him.
Now, Mark Mangino was in the program for a while. I'm not too worried about Leipold leaving. And it's a coach thing to do, but multiple times he stated, Lawrence is where they're going to be. Lawrence is where his family's going to be. Even after Nebraska fired their coach, even hearing about rumors in Wisconsin, he still stayed firm on his pedestal of Lawrence is the place to be. Now, again, that's, that can change, but hopefully he keeps his word, and we could be bowl eligible for multiple years in a row. I would say that.
We could be a top 15 team perennially. The resources are there. The alignment in the AD president's office is there finally. Has always been an issue for us these past 14, 15 years. I think we're in a good spot. I'm really excited. I really, really like Lance. The recruiting classes we're getting in are good. Jalen Daniels is young, and he's not an NFL quarterback. And I love Jalen. Not an NFL quarterback. So we're probably going to get him all 5 years, including his COVID year. Question is, do you think Jason Bean gets more playing time? Not at quarterback, but in those Wildcat type packages. Maybe at wide receiver?
I could see it. The problem is that, I could see him at receiver. Both Jalen Daniels and Jason Bean are running quarterbacks. I think Jason Bean's a little better at it. I think Jalen Daniels a little better at pass accuracy type things. Actual, quarterback.
Jalen Daniels can make all the hard plays, or not Jalen Daniels, Jason Bean. He can make all the hard plays, but God damn it, if it's an easy layup throw, it's just not going to get there half the time. And I love Jason.
Right. And we've seen that this year while Jalen Daniels was out. And so it'll be interesting to see. They might run a 2-quarterback system. Is that unheard of? Absolutely not. And is it a horrible idea? Not really. I mean, Jason Bean's a senior quarterback. What is Jalen Daniels, a sophomore?
Junior. He burned his red shirt. Junior. He would have been a sophomore, but he burned his red shirt. Right. I like it. I don't know if there's definitely an argument about not letting Jason Bean take a lot of hits, God damn it, not letting Jalen Daniels take a lot of hits. Their names are really similar. Not letting Jason Bean take a lot of hits so that if Jalen Daniels goes down again, we'll be fine. I just hope Lance stays. That's where I'm going to leave it at. I really like Lance. And Lance I trust. I actually voted for the guy for governor. I mean, no reason not to. All right. Next up, Bill Self and the Jayhawks signed 4-star 23rd or 28th ranked recruit El Marco Jackson. El Marco's a 6'3" point guard, reminiscent of the KU guards of old. Tyshawn Taylor, Nadir Tharp, a little bit before your time, Cooper, but most people listening will probably know who those two guys are. Kind of reminiscent of one of those two, really athletic. I think we're going to get a lot from him on the defensive end. I think he's going to be one of these guys that's able to push the ball down the court and make fast break offense look easy. Super excited for this guy to come to KU. And I'm curious about his shooting. If he can shoot the 3-ball well, he'll be real solid for us for years.
Right. To me, he looks a lot like a Devon Dotson that's just a little taller, a little length, a little more length in his arms, a little better shooting the ball, but has that speed, that athleticism to, break off, go get a dunk, go. And not to say Devin Dotson wasn't ever that guy, but I think Marco is probably a better version of him. And that's something to be excited about. Obviously, we haven't had that point. I like DeJuan Harris, but DeJuan Harris isn't a scoring option. He can be a scoring option. Usually he's not a scoring option. He's, get the ball around, right, dribble it out, try to find the best open look.
And that type of point guard has real value, especially around certain types of teams. Like last year with Ochai, Dave, Remy, having a guy like DeJuan was really good because he wasn't going to take up shots from the guys who were supposed to be getting shots. And I really cannot believe I'm saying David McCormick should have been one of those guys, but God damn it, ended up being that way. So the guys like DeJuan have their roles, but it's also on a team like this year maybe, and El Marco Jackson is nice because it's instant offense. And he doesn't need to run a set to go get a bucket. And you need that. That's something that you definitely need. It's hard to win at a high level without either having instant offense guys or guys you can throw too late in the shot clock. And El Marco is going to be that for us. All right. KU played Omaha Monday night, Cooper. They won the game 89-64. There were some takeaways for sure. One of them would be KU, and it might have just been because they were playing Omaha. KU had a 44% offensive rebound rate. So 44% of the shots that went up, there's an offensive rebound by KU. That's exceptional. If we can keep that high, that'll take us really far. I think a part of that's KJ Adams playing. He had 8 offensive rebounds. I mean, that's insane. So part of that's KJ playing the 5 and just being a really good rebounder and really bouncy. Part of that's the fact, again, Omaha mid-major program, not very good last year. I think they won only 2 games. But that's encouraging. And us attacking the boards like that will go, again, a really long way for most nights. Even if we shoot bad, if we can rebound the basketball on the offensive end, that's helpful.
Right. And this is a very athletic starting lineup. You take Ernest Uday out for Adams. I think you and I both agree on that. We both like that look. Adams, while he, you give up the height, you gain athleticism. And I will say there were some plays watching Adams. I can't tell if it was just that he was tired. It's the first game, but it looked like he was lacking a little bit.
I think he might have been a little nervous. He didn't play that many minutes last year. He really didn't.
Right. And so, and that'll, his confidence with the ball will continue to grow going forward and going to get rebounds and doing everything. But shortest player on the court, starting wise, was 6'1" DeJuan Harris, who really can go in there and get a rebound anytime, And from there, it's 6'6", 6'8", 6'8". I think, it's 6'6" and then 6'8" all across the board after that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a very athletic group. Grady Dick is very, long in the arms. He's very able to go in and snag some rebounds that you wouldn't suspect him to get. And so I'd like to see, I like this whole group rebounding wise and really defensively. I know you'd said something about a full court press being put in, which would be great with this group.
And Grady's good in passing lanes.
Right.
McCullough and DeJuan Harris can attack the ball handler. Wilson's a really good defender. Grady's able to tip passes, and KJ can hold most ball handlers at a high level.
Right, and so that's what it would be nice to see, that Grady, out of the whole starting lineup, is the one player that you look at and go, okay, his defense isn't up to what we want. But again, lengthy, gonna get in the passing lane. He can get it from behind, get the ball from behind if he needs to. I'm not worried about it, personally.
No, I think Grady will be fine. He takes charges too. I mean, he does those little intangible, smart defensive player things really well, and he just lacks some of that, again, athleticism. But it makes up for itself in the length, and then also that IQ. The first three guys off the bench were Bobby Pettiford, Joseph Yosefu, and Ernest Uday. Do you think that's going to continue to be the same top 8? So the starters, Harris, McCullough, Grady, Wilson, Adams, and then Pettiford, Yosefu, and Ernest off the bench. Obviously, MJ Rice comes into play somewhere here. We just don't know where. Maybe we take 4 people off the bench. Bill Self usually plays 8, but with a guy like MJ Rice, we might just go 9.
Right. And the question really for me, the one question mark out of those 3 is going to be Yosefu. I like Yosefu.
He could fall out of the rotation. Really.
I like Yosefu. I really do. But Pettiford had a great game, 13 points, a steal, 2 assists, 2 assists, 2 steals. We haven't seen that out of Pettiford. He was hurt for part of last year. I like Pettiford. He reminds me of Dollar Tree Marcus Garrett on the defensive end, but more offensively talented than Marcus Garrett was. And so, Pettiford takes point guard minutes, right, when DeJuan Harris needs a break. MJ Rice will be, he could be a 2 through 4, and Ernest Uday, that's really not a question there. He's, it's going to be him and Adams all season.
And as it should.
And so Yosefu, there just needs to be a little more out of him. There needs to be more scoring. There needs to be more, on the defensive end.
He really attacks the basket really well, and he's really athletic. It seems like he's never been comfortable. It seems like the shots he takes are kind of awkward. There was a 3-point shot Monday night that just didn't really make sense. It was a funky, weird, like they're in transition. He passed it up, got it back, took a dribble, kind of open. It's not a good shot. But then he passes up some that he should go attack. So hopefully with more playing time and more practice time, he figures it out. I love you. Like, as the idea of Joseph Yosefu is really good.
Well, and coming from that kind of mid-major Drake, where he's the guy, he was the guy averaging 13, 14 points a game there. We don't think about that as a lot, but if I had to guess, he's probably one of the top 3, if not the leading scorer of that team.
Yep.
He had free reign. Here, it's a tight leash, especially with Self.
Yeah, especially with new guys. Self put Ramey on a leash.
Right. So, and it's just how it is, and you have to learn to play with it. And so he probably is uncomfortable because he's never been in situations like that where he doesn't have the free reign. He has a green light. Go shoot. Go do what you want because this is your team.
He has a really good attitude, though, and I really don't. He might be fine, and honestly, he might be a guy that transfers after this year if he doesn't play much, like Charlie Moore. Like that. And honestly, it's kind of fun when those guys, like, personally, I like to root for the guys that transfer that didn't play much. It's fun. It's fun when they're good and successful. Silvio being an example. His team went to the tournament last year. That was awesome. And Silvio wasn't really good enough to play at KU and be a major piece, even before the chair thing.
That's what I was about to say. The most memorable thing Silvio De Sousa ever did was pick up that stool.
Exactly. Like, that's how everyone's going to remember Silvio De Sousa. And right or wrong, it was cool that he had some success elsewhere. Last thing I'll touch on, KU only shot 53% from the free throw line. I don't think that's an issue right now, like immediately. I don't think year long that's something I'm going to worry about. Good coaches get that figured out. Free throws are mostly repetition and mentality. It's a little bit of skill, but mostly repetition and mentality. And coaches at Self's level are really good at that. That's not something they're going to struggle with.
Right, and something I'd like to see. Adams, Doak could never shoot free throws. We saw it all year long. Doak could never make the free throw. But he was almost guaranteed to get 2 points. Adams isn't as big, he's athletic, but not as athletic as Doak was, and it just doesn't work out like that. So when he gets fouled, he does need to make those free throws. Those are really important there.
Yeah, he's athletic, but he's not big. And I think he's going to have a Thomas Robinson type jump probably next year, But right now, it's just not there. I could see Ernest taking over that starting 5 spot, and I wouldn't really be mad about it. You see flashes in Ernest of a really dominant big, and I don't think it'll be this year that we ever really see it all click. But once Ernest clicks all the intangible parts, he has really long arms. He's really athletic. Times dunks and lobs blocks really well. He's going to be a monster. He's going to be the next classic KU big out of the line of like Doak, uh, Perry Ellis counts, but he wasn't really a 5. Jeff Withy, Cole Aldrich, Embiid. He'll be the next one in that line of really great KU centers. It won't happen this year, but I do think he'll get some playing time. And when we play teams, if we play teams like North Carolina, Kentucky with real bigs, Ernest is going to have to play. KJ's good. KJ's not big enough to handle some of these guys.
No, and that's something Ernest will get into. You think about Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid got dunked on so hard by Tariq Black he didn't want to play the sport of basketball anymore. That's a growing thing. And honestly, Ernest probably needs that from somebody. He needs Bacot to go up and just yam it on him once and learn, this is the game. I think the thing about the Omaha game that concerns me the most is that we only had 89 points.
Yeah.
The first game of the year,
it would have been okay if we limited them to like 40 or 50 points. But the fact that they put up 64, the pace of the offense is clunky right now. And that's pretty normal for this time of year, though. That's not something that's abnormal. Fairly common thing for us. And Self doesn't get into his really good sets until conference play or when they're playing a Duke or a Kentucky. So that's part of it. But it's that time of year. I was encouraged by the 3-point success. If we can shoot at that 35-40% clip every night, we'll be all right. We just don't have any instant offense pieces. The guys were into the shot clock, transition. They can go get their own shot, and that hurts. I mean, we had 2 or 3 of those guys last year, and Remy, Ochai, and Christian Brown even sometimes.
Right, and so that's, watching it, the KU weave looks sloppy. That play works itself out eventually, usually. We saw it last year with Remy. When Remy was in, it looked horrible. It looks bad with Grady. It looks bad with Grady right now. That'll get worked out.
The offense used to fuck up the offense, man.
And it's something that works itself out. The offense did look really clunky. There wasn't a lot of spacing. If Zach Clements is in the game with KJ, there should be no reason that KJ is playing on the 3-point line. I refuse to believe that should be a thing. I like KJ, not outside of like 10 feet of the basket.
No. Yeah. He's strictly 10 feet in. I agree.
Right. Where does Clements fit in this year? No.
I don't think so. I don't think Clements is right now, and it can fix itself. And it's a mentality thing more, I think, than a talent thing. Right now, Clements is a one-dimensional big that doesn't rebound well and doesn't shoot doesn't do anything but shoot the basketball. Now, could he become a face-up, post-up threat? Yes. Could he become a guy on defense that, because of his length and his movement ability, does really well? Yeah. And the rebounding thing, that's just effort. He doesn't do those. And I've watched Bill Self. He's the only KU coach I've known. Guys that only do one thing that aren't great at that one thing don't get to play. And Zach's a good 3-point shooter. You can't put Zach Clements off a pin down and expect him to make it. And so he's not at the level where you even begin to think about, hey, we're going to play this guy. I'd like to see him figure it out. I really would. He'd be a great piece to have, especially with this limited spacing. It would be great to have Zach. His shot takes a long time, though. It's not something that he just is able to get off right away. He has to be set to hit it. He might be another one of those transfer to a mid-major, and I bet your ass if he goes to a mid-major, he's going to put up 15 to 20 a game. But at this level, it's just tough to play with just one good ability.
He shows a lot of what we used to see in Mitch, where you could tell that he didn't want to be on the floor. Mitch, when he was the third center behind Doak and Dave, when he got in the game, just acted like he didn't want to play, and you could tell.
Yep.
Now he changed that real quick, especially that senior year. That super
Oh yeah,
senior
Mitch
year.
looked like a whole different player that last year. The year before he looked kind of weak too. Not weak. He looked like he didn't really want to be there. And then that last year, I mean, he had some really good games by Mitch last year.
Right, and so it's also just maturing over time. I mean, Clements is a sophomore, 19 years old, and is probably pissed off that he's not playing.
Oh, behind a guy in KJ Adams who was ranked lower than him in recruiting rankings.
Right, and so I can imagine that that's probably something that is going through his head. And it's just something that he's going to have to get over because at the end of the day, KJ's outplaying him 10 times out of 10 right now.
KJ does more things better.
Right.
All right, Cooper. We play North Dakota State tonight. It'll just come out on Thursday morning. So, play North Dakota State tonight. North Dakota State plays 2 6'10" guys in their starting lineup. At least they did last week. So there's and none of these guys shoot over 35% on their career at the start. They're returning 75% of the minutes and scoring from a last year's second place Summit League team. The deal is, though, they lost 3 seniors that put up 10 plus points per game. They're starting a freshman. Another one of their starters doesn't have a lot of game experience at all. First game, they lost to Arkansas 76-58. I think we really have a chance to blow these guys out of the water. I think this will be a really good confidence boost before we go up against Duke.
And we really should. I mean, again, we talked about Omaha. That was a low-scoring game. It was closer than you would have liked it to be.
It was the first game, though, and this is a team that is young. Like this year's KU squad, sure, we have Harris, DeJuan Harris and Jalen Wilson are the only 2 guys who played real minutes last year. And Bobby Pettiford, but he was hurt most of the year. Everyone's young.
Right. And so this should be a game. No spacing. If I had to guess, we might see a look of Ernest Uday and KJ Adams. I know we ran against Pitt State and the spacing was horrible. But against 2, I like Jalen Wilson. I don't know how I like him playing post defense against a 6'10". And that's, that's
if he
is
who he should be fine. But we don't know if that's really going to happen.
Right. And so, I mean, undoubtedly we're going to see a lot of Uday. I think we're going to see a lot of Uday. I want to see him either shine on offense or shine on defense. I want to see him do something.
Him and DeJuan Harris have some nasty pick and roll stuff already. Like those lob passes DeJuan Harris throws him. Watch out. I'm trying to find MJ Rice. There's no news about him playing yet or not. I hope he plays. I really want to see him. Hypothetically, him and Grady might be a crazy pairing. There might be a lineup we see at some point that's DeJuan Harris, Kevin McCullough, Grady Dick, MJ Rice, and then Jalen Wilson at the 5. And against some teams, that's going to be really hard to stop. Now, the other team can't have a post big that's worth a shit if we run that lineup, but that could be a really good full court press lineup against smaller teams. And that's something that in the tournament against the mid-majors that we play sometimes, that's sometimes been something we don't have.
Right. I'm excited. Well, I'm really excited to see MJ return.
Is MJ Rice going to be more Wayne Simeon last 2 years or Josh Jackson? Or
that's a hard question.
Oubre?
I hope he's more of a Wayne Simeon than I never liked how Josh Jackson played. I never really liked how Oubre played.
I didn't like Oubre either.
And those were both 2 1 and well, Josh Jackson was 1 and done. Oubre was 1 and done too. I hope he stays. He might, if Grady keeps playing the way he plays, we could see Dick in the NBA. Okay. And that's just, that's a serious thing because he's 6'8", he's lanky, and he's hitting the 3 ball well. He's really playing well. Those first few minutes, you could tell he's just a little bit scared, timid, whatever. You're a freshman, but he stepped up. MJ Rice was the person that you and I both picked out of anybody to go to the NBA, out of this team, going into the season, especially out of the freshmen. Now, being hurt for the first however many games he's going to be out is going to hurt that a lot, but we'll see.
Oh, if we get him next year, El Marco, DeJuan Harris might stay another year. He might not, but El Marco and MJ Rice.
Ooh. El Marco can run the 2. I mean,
yeah, that's why he's tall enough. He can do it. So, the spread right now, Cooper, you're too young to bet, but we're going to still fucking talk about it anyways. The spread right now is KU minus 22.5. So if you pick KU minus 22.5, they have to win by 23 or more. If not, then lose or win by less than 22. The over-under is 142.5. I'll go first. I have KU covering the spread. I think I'd probably, if I were capping it, I'd probably do 28, 29. I don't think North Dakota State is quite as talented as those numbers reflect. Like when you look at 75% of the lineups back and they were second in the Summit, their 3 senior 10-plus point per game scorers are gone, including their leading scorers from last year. It's just not the same. KU is going to be way more athletic than them. This is a transition team. If you get McCullough running, if you get Wilson running, if you get Harris, who is prone to running, it's going to be really hard for North Dakota State to keep up, and they're not very deep. KU can play 9. Zach would be the 9th right now without MJ, but he can play, especially in this game. So I have KU minus 22.5, and like I said, I'd probably cap it at 28 if it were me, but I don't make those decisions. Over under 142.5, I gotta go over here. Our defense is all right, but there's a bunch of white people, and I've watched a lot of KU basketball, and we're really prone to giving up white people threes. It's always the most you got to pick the tallest, most unassuming looking motherfucker on the other team. That's the one who's going to hit 4 threes. And if he's an under 30% shooter on his career, guess what? Double down. He's probably hitting 7 of those motherfuckers. You're going to hit all of them for his career.
Last year. The Creighton player from last year. I don't even remember who it was.
Every year that shit happens.
Yeah,
He'll be the nerdy white dude that's 7'2" that fucking hit 1 3 in his career that hits like 5.
Right. I'm going to follow that. They're going to cover the spread. I'd probably go 25. And yeah, you got to go over 142.
Yeah, if they're going to win by 22, you got to think. They're probably scoring 80 points. Other teams score 58. Ooh.
It'll be close.
It'll be close. Yeah, I was going to say probably 144 is what I'd have it at. All right, so we're in agreement there. Let's talk about the outlook of this Kansas team in some national context. So we both have similar rotation ideas where Harris, McCullough, Dick, Wilson, KJ starting, Yusefu, Pettiford, MJ, Uday, Zach coming off the bench, not necessarily playing those positions off the bench like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but off of the bench. I think the odd man, so we already talked about this, so we'll just kind of briefly jump over it. The odd man out's clearly one Zach Clements, and like I said, that could change. There will be games where there's going to be foul trouble, and he's going to have to play because Cam Martin probably is not playing over him. But I don't know what's up. Maybe he will. But ideally, Zach is going to have to play sometimes this year, and it would be nice to get some contribution from him, and I really want him to be good. I know, we might say one thing, well, guy can't do this, guy can't do that, this guy's role. Ultimately, we want all these guys to succeed because they're all playing for KU. So obviously, I want him to outdo that. But right now, it just looks like he's going to be an odd man out. Yusefu, I think Yusefu is going to come in at that 9th spot. And if he has a couple good games, he'll probably solidify a role every game. If he starts petering out this year, he'll still play when we need instant offense, end of halves, positions where we want a full court press with the backup unit. But it's just not going to be uber consistent game to game. So I definitely think that Zach and Yusefu are going to be the 2 guys that are like the odd men out.
Right. I really like Pettiford. I liked Pettiford last year. It sucked that he got hurt. Hoping for a fully healthy season. I like Pettiford being the 6th man. I like MJ. I like all 3. I like Pettiford, MJ, and Uday all subbing in at the same time, honestly. Because you take DeJuan out, you take Brady, and then KJ.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a change, but the biggest change would be DeJuan to Pettiford. And Pettiford scores better than DeJuan does. So that's kind of your change off. And really, they can almost still full court press. Uday is the only one. Uday would have to stick back in the paint don't lose.
Yeah, if the other team has a big that can't bring the ball up, it's fine.
Right. And so I'm really excited about that. We've talked about Zach. I do want him to do good. Like you said, he's somebody that I think has upside. And really, he showed a little bit of it last year. He had a few showings of being able to shoot. And that was exciting when he was a freshman. And you want him to do. You want him to do as good as possible.
Yeah. I'd really like Zach to succeed, and he would be so good for us. We lack, and that's the thing we lack is 3-point shooting. If Zach can come in and shoot 35 to 40% from the 3-point line, great. We need it. However, Self is not going to play him. Again, I said it earlier. He's not going to play him if he's only good at one thing and not great at that.
Right. Do you think there's a chance that Uday starts when Self comes back?
Oh, yeah. I think Uday, at the least, he's going to start the games where the other team has a real big. But I really think we're going to see major development from Uday throughout the season. Self does really well with bigs to start. Uday's so raw. And bigs don't get drafted in the NBA like that. I don't think he'll leave after this year. Unless he goes like, I don't know. I just don't think he leaves after this year. I think he at least stays 2 years. But Uday's going to be really good. I'd really like him to start most games. He's a lob threat. He's a guy who hopefully develops a little bit of at least like a hook shot move. But again, he's raw. Probably not going to happen quite yet. But yeah, I do think Uday ends up starting at least some games this year.
My biggest question mark, while Self is good with working with bigs, I don't know who the actual bigs coach is, if they have one, because you see it out of KU bigs that aren't named Doak. Joel Embiid showed this a little more in the NBA, but Dave did it a lot, and it's that freaking fadeaway mid-range. And it's something that, they both have. Both Dave and Joel have. And I hope that isn't put into effect with Uday. I think Uday's a little too big to be doing that. Yeah, I would like to see the hook shot. I would like to see some footwork that's not, hey, turn around, shoot it, hope you make it, go chase your rebound, and then try to dunk it.
Yeah.
That was a big Dave move. I love Dave, but
they shot some shitty fadeaway jumpers. Dave, you knew Dave was cooking if he hit the fadeaway like that. You knew Dave was about to put up 20.
All in or all out.
Dumb. All 20 points of his were gonna look stupid. I love Dave though. I have a lot of love in my heart for Dave. I was very, very love-hate with Dave, but at the end of it, put a statue up to that guy. So what's this team ceiling? Realistically, I don't
realistically,
think championship contender.
No, I don't either. Elite 8, Final 4 would be mine. Definitely Elite 8, and I think if we got really lucky, Final 4.
Yeah, I think we'll at least make the second weekend, the Sweet 16. I'm not quite as high on this year's team. We lack a primary scorer. And
absolutely.
In March, that really matters. Now, maybe MJ Rice is that. Maybe Jalen Wilson really takes off. We've seen junior to senior year jumps crazier than that. Wilson had a good year last year, so it's not unheard of, but I really just don't know how exactly this is all going to fit together in March. And I put a lot of trust in Self, but we've seen Self teams peter out early. And this team's kind of set up like one that's like that.
Right. And so there we go. No, I would like to see Jalen take the jump, honestly. A lot like Ochai did last year. And is there a guarantee of that happening? No. I mean, he looked good this first game. If it's not him, it's Grady.
We've seen it.
I think Grady can be that guy. I think Grady will be that guy. When it's really time to play, I think Grady will be that guy. And so I'm just I
don't have a lot of trust in a freshman Grady Dick being a primary shot creator.
I don't know. He looks good. He has a couple of, one of the plays I saw.
Yeah, against Omaha. What happens when, I don't know. Let me think of someone who's good. What happens when, the Dollar Tree version of Marcus Garrett holds him in conference play?
I agree. I think he can still set him up, though. He might not be the catch and, make a move, go get it, but I think he's a good scoring threat no matter what.
All right, last up on this little season preview. Is Ernest going to be enough to beat bigs like Bacot, Timmy, so on and so forth?
That's a big question. Bacot, obviously last year he was hurt. I think we got every team's lucky. We did get lucky with Bacot coming off that ankle injury because that dude's a monster. I mean, it's obvious. He's not going to, he might not cook you for 25. He'll dunk on you a few times, make you feel small.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, we talked about that. Ernest might need that. He might need that to make the jump.
That would be good. It would be good developmentally for him, like for next year, playing against that. Yeah, I think that we're gonna have problems. I mean, Lord help us if we play Gonzaga. Timmy's gonna cook. KJ's gonna cook Ernest, and Timmy's in a position much better than last year. Him and Chet were kind of clunky. Chet wasn't quite as good of a 3-point shooter as we thought, especially at the beginning of the year. At the end of the year, it worked itself out. But Timmy, he's so good, so fundamental, and so technical. And then he has the tough shot making ability past that to pair with those things. He's sick. All right, so we're going to jump. We're going to do contender or pretender with the top 10 teams. So we're going to quickly gloss over all the top 10 teams in the nation. We're going to talk about if we think they're contenders, pretenders, maybe a little too early to tell. So first off, we're going to be doing these quick, Cooper. North Carolina, contender or pretender, the number one team in the country?
Contender. They return a lot of players. Lost Manic, but you got Bacot. You have RJ. I think RJ Davis is still there. You have Caleb Love. That team meshed well together. Hubert Davis. While we didn't hear a ton of him previous to a couple of years ago, I like Hubert Davis as a coach. Honestly,
my question, I have him as I lean more towards pretender with a big question mark, just because, for one, this team wasn't that good last year until the last 15 games. Maybe that's them meshing well, and that's totally a thing, especially with a young head coach and a bunch of guys who really didn't play all that much the year before. But I also think they might end up being fine. So I don't know. I lean a little more towards pretender because of that caveat, but Bacot's really good. Caleb Love's really good. They're very well coached, especially those last stretch of games. I mean, they were up on KU by like 15 points at halftime in the national championship. All right, next up, number 2 team in the country. I have Gonzaga. I have them as a contender. The only issue, they have a really good non-conference schedule finally. They play Texas, Kentucky, Baylor, and they play those 3 games in a 4-game stretch in non-conference. So they are trying to at least prove themselves a little more than in the past. My question, though, once they're in conference play, St. Mary's is good every year. BYU can be good. They really don't play anyone, though. And I wonder if that lag and that lack of effort needed is going to come back to hurt them. And I think that happens a lot in March for those Gonzaga teams. That's why you hear rumors of them going to the Pac-12 and the Big 12. So they no longer have to deal with that. But I have them as a contender. Timmy's he's a junior or senior. He's played a lot of games there. Strother's a really good big guard/wing. I like Gonzaga.
Yeah, I agree. I lean kind of in the middle, maybe a little more towards pretender. Now, I do like Drew Timme this season. He's had, a couple of years in a row now where they made championship, lost to Baylor. Made it, gosh, I don't even remember how far they made it last year, lost. This is Timmy's season to do something. Now, how sustainable is that? I don't know, because he's usually consistent, but he has a tendency sometimes to peter out. We saw that in the St. Mary's game last year. That game, they were supposed to kill them. No question. Timme had, I think, 4 in the first 10 minutes of play. And so I like Timme, but he's a big question mark on how consistent he stays, especially through that conference play. Because if he doesn't feel like he has to give effort, that might come back to bite him.
Houston.
Pretender.
I have Houston as a contender, too. Well coached. Marcus Sasser's good. He looked really good in his first game. I have Houston as a contender. Now, and the American's a good conference. The American's not like the West Coast Conference, so I'm not worried about them having to lag through conference play. Kentucky.
I have to go pretender. I like Oscar. I really like Oscar. Is he enough to will this team to the championship? No.
They're young. Yeah, they're young.
They're a young team. Not great. Not very well coached.
Cal sucks.
Right. It just doesn't look like it meshes well, and it doesn't look like it's going to get the job done.
Baylor.
Usually I would say contender. I'm going pretender.
Ooh.
I like Baylor. I like their offense. They played well the last 2 years. 3 years. They can very easily fall out of it like that. And they've done it before. We saw them at number 1 for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, we see them at number 1 for a long time. And then they fall to us. And then all of a sudden they hit a landslide falling to K-State.
Yeah.
And I could see that happening this year. I could see them being a top 10 team and then all of a sudden landsliding because they lose to a good team and then it's knocked out of them.
All right, KU. I have us as a pretender. We already talked about it, don't you?
I do too.
Duke.
Pretender,
yep. Shire's first year, a bunch of freshman egos. I think Shire might be all right, but I just don't think it'll be this year. UCLA, I have them as the sleeper contender. Sure, they lost Jazang last year, but Cronin's really good. They brought in some guys. There's a lot of continuity still. They're going to be just a tough team to play. They're not going to do anything exceptionally well other than defend and rebound. Their effort will be really good. They're just going to be a tough team to play. And in March, that effort takes you really far.
I agree that they're going to be a tough team to play, and I think they'll take some players or some teams down, some very good teams down. I don't think they're making it all the way, unfortunately. Like the team, I don't think they have what it takes to make it all the way.
Creighton.
I have to go pretender. I liked what they did last year. They had a lot of offense. Still do.
Have you seen Shireman play?
Not yet.
Oh, God. All right, so I have them as a contender, and it's all because of Shireman, right? Now, that doesn't mean I think they're going to win it. Like, I wouldn't put any money on Creighton winning. I put money on Gonzaga or Kentucky. Not Kentucky. Gonzaga or Houston, maybe. Not Creighton. But I do have them as a contender. John Shireman was the player of the year in the Summit League last year for South Dakota State. He's like the guy that goes to the Y who looks really unassuming, like the goofy white guy in short shorts and a headband. This literally is what he wears when he plays. Short shorts, headband, goofy hair, and he just comes in and he can pass the basketball and ball handle. He shoots well. He just does everything well. And you're like, well, what the fuck? That's John Shireman. So they could beat anyone. I mean, their talent level is of a place where they can beat anyone. It's just going to be a question of can they defend well enough and rebound well enough on the other side. They were good last year. McDermott's a good coach. I have him as a contender. But I don't think they're going to win. All right, Cooper, we're going to wrap that up now. We will be back next week. I don't know when yet. Maybe we'll do it again Wednesday night, maybe not. But we'll be back again next week, talk about North Dakota State. I think we played Duke Monday night. So we'll probably talk about that, give some updates. Until then, guys, have a good week. We'll see you next week. Go Hawks.